VocalEye Almost Live Zoom. Storytelling Showcase with Robert Kingett. Hosted by Amy Amantea. With special guest, Robert Kingett.
Welcome to this VocalEye Almost Live event. My name is Amy Amantea. I use she, her pronouns. I'm the Associate Director here at VocalEye. I'm your host for these online events, and I'm a very proud member of the blind community. And I want to extend a big thank you to all of you who've joined week after week, Wednesday after Wednesday, month after month. It's a pleasure to share this space with you all. So thank you for all of those lovely letters of support that you send in. It's just a real pleasure to host you in this space. So thank you for being my friend and joining us on Wednesday nights. If you happen to be watching this particular episode on our YouTube channel, you can also support VocalEye by hitting those like and subscribe buttons. You can check out our website at vocaleye.ca. You can make donations, and you can just follow us and see what we do and get involved. VocalEye is broadcasting to you all from the traditional and stolen lands of the Coast Salish peoples, in particular the Squamish, the Musqueam, and the Tsleil-Waututh First Nations. So for me in particular, I live on Squamish lands. That is North Vancouver. We call this part of the North Shore. So I'm in North Vancouver. In particular, I'm in the district of North Vancouver because we have the district of North Van and the city of North Van. So I'm on the North Shore. And this week, there was an announcement that the Squamish Nation is celebrating a dedicated language nest. And the Squamish Nation has not had a fluent first language speaker in roughly 90 years. So this is a dedicated space. This dedicated space is the new home of the next generation of first language speakers. This is a place for families to come and learn the traditional Squamish language. That language was on the verge of extinction when residential schools banned students from speaking it. The language will be taught through singing and storytelling. There are setups inside this building that are like a home environment, and they have no curriculum where there's lessons that are taught every day in a lesson plan, but rather the language is learned in an everyday setting. That's why it's set up like a home on the inside. The building that was once Henry Hudson Elementary School was built in 1912 and was located in the village of Sinnock, which is Kitsilano area, colonially known as Kitsilano. And it caught on fire and was refurbished by a local developer and renovator and then put on a barge. And it took an intense 48-hour journey from Kitsilano Beach around Stanley Park and under the Lionsgate Bridge, and was delivered to North Vancouver's Capilano neighborhood, which is exactly about 5 minutes from where I live. So this little yellow building, which was formerly an elementary school, is now the Squamish Nation Language Nest. And already they've got young families and people that are wanting to be first language speakers. I thought this was a beautiful story. I'm really excited that this is happening. This building is placed on Squamish land, so there is colonially what they would call a reservation down at the bottom of Capilano Road, which is at the bottom of sort of my road. And it's a beautiful, refurbished, sunny, looks like a little church building, but it's a sunny, bright yellow color. It's a color of happiness, and the people from the Squamish Nation are overjoyed to be able to reclaim language. So I thought I would share that all with you because when I saw it on the news, it brought me to tears, and I think it's a wonderful beginning for folks to be able to reclaim language. Welcome. It's Wednesday, March the 13th, 2024, and tonight we're proud to offer you our Almost Live event number 147, and tonight's special guest in the space is the one, the only, Robert Kingett. So Robert, come on into the space, my friend. There you are. I got a square. I got a black square with a little Robert shadow.
Right. Yes. Yeah. I'm doing very good. How about you?
I'm doing great, Robert. Tell the folks who don't know you where you're joining us from.
So I am joining you all from Chicago, Illinois. It's part of the uh Windy City. But and it's nighttime where I'm at
You're 3 hours in
moment.
the future, right?
Yes.
From
Right.
us in Pacific time.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Talk about jet lag, huh?
Yeah, that's talk about jet lag. It's
Yeah.
the joke that I always make was, how was dinner? What are the lottery numbers? Can you please tell us?
Right.
So, Robert, tell us a bit about yourself. What is your background? Who are you as an artist and a person?
More than happy to do so. So I'm an artist that tries a bunch of things and succeeds at a handful of them. But I think if you're an artist, I think your goal should actually be to just try and break the mold, if you will. But for me, so I'm a totally blind, uh, uh, gay writer and audio description writer. I'm one of the writers for the social audio description collective, but I my main passion is I like to write fiction work uh, featuring blind and visually impaired characters, and I also write uh, personal essays. I I blog a lot about disability access and my journey through an ableist world. Um, I've also uh, did, dabbled in writing a few screenplays. Um, I've also dabbled in writing a fiction podcast scripts. So I do a lot of writing. Um, I also do a lot of developmental editing, uh, as well as sensitivity reading. So I'm very steeped in the publishing world.
That's a lot of hats to wear, Robert. You must
Yes.
be exhausted.
Uh, so exhausted doesn't even begin to cover it. So yeah.
I'm exhausted just listening to it.
What? Thank you for being exhausted on my behalf. But it's um, but in a strange way, like it's loads of fun.
Hmm.
So it's not as draining as it would have been if I really hated the jobs I do. So yeah.
That resonates. I totally get that. And you do a lot of self-publishing of your essays and your books and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yes, yes, I do. I do a lot of self-publishing. I do have an agent. I am uh, I'm basically hybrid. So what that means is I do a little bit of both. Um, I shoot for traditional publishing wherever I can, uh, just as a personal preference. But if that doesn't work out, then I will go the indie route, the self-publishing route. But there's pros and cons to each uh, publishing strategy. So I'm happy to say that I'm familiar with both. Um, my personal preference is traditionally traditionally publishing my work, but whenever I do self publish, I try to do it as thoroughly as much as I can.
So you've brought 3 short stories to share with us tonight.
Mhm.
Were these stories that you self-published or traditionally published?
Uh, technically, so two of them were self-published, and one is traditionally published.
Oh, I wonder if we'll be able to tell the difference between them. This feels like a
Mhm.
game now.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay. This is
definitely.
everybody. This is the game because we were talking before we invited guests into the space tonight about the choice to use AI narrators over human narrators. And there's been a lot of tests that I've been involved in where they try and stump me with the voice of an AI narrator and a voice of a human narrator. So they, give you 10 voices and they're like, pick the AI versus the human. And I can still always pick the AI
Yep.
voice. They sound very human. It's not that they don't, but if you listen to them long enough, they have kind of the same arc for each sentence.
Hmm. Yep.
And so that's the tell. So if I was listening to 3 sentences, okay, maybe it doesn't bother me. If I was listening to a whole book, that pattern would be so repetitious that I think it would lull me into some kind of sleep pattern or whatever. So now I'm thinking, okay, folks who are listening to these stories, when we get to the Q&A at the end, you're gonna have to tell Robert and I which ones are the which ones are the self-published and which ones. I don't know if you can tell the difference, but I'm curious if it's possible. But none of them are AI
Well,
narrated.
right. No, none of them are.
Oh,
Well, unfortunately, so one of them is going to give it away. So, in regards to the self-publishing bit. So once you hear it, you'll unfortunately, unfortunately be able to tell, yeah, that one is self-published. So, but if you read a lot, you can tell. But you're right. None of them have AI narration. I just, uh, on principle, I refuse to work with any AI voices of any kind.
I'm right with you, my friend. I'm right with you. I don't even know that I care how good they get. It takes away jobs from folks who have been supporting our access needs for, live read human books
Yep.
since that practice began.
Yeah.
Maybe an IKEA manual would be okay with. I'd be okay with that, but I don't want my storytelling to be read that way. I digress.
Mm-hmm.
So the first story that you're sharing with us tonight is Pointy Chances.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Do you want to set this one up for us in any way?
Yeah, sure. So I like to read uh romance. So romance is one of my genres that I have to be honest, I really discredited r- romance for the longest time. I thought that romance was a lesser genre than other genres, but then I actually started to read romance and the conventions and everything, and I did a complete 180, and now it's actually one of my favorite
Mm.
genres. But as popular as romance is, um, disabled people are almost non-existent in the romance genre. So I wanted to write a romantic comedy featuring an entirely blind cast. So that's what you're going to hear.
Awesome. Yeah, even the intersection of disability and gender and queerness and all that kind of stuff, those intersections almost never exist in any books.
Right. Yep.
Hopefully that's changing, and it takes folks with lived experience who are saying, where am I represented in literature? To, I mean, that seems to be what it takes right now to write authentic stories. So I'm excited to listen to this one. Shall we hit play?
Yep.
Awesome. All right, Rick, when you're ready, hit play on Pointy Chances.
Pointy Chances by Robert Kingett. Just before the bell rang, I dropped my pen. Immediately panicking, I dove under my desk to hunt for the rainbow-colored treasure I had found last year. I was hoping that it would whimper or cry out or something to let me know where it had landed. But the pen seemed to have a mind of its own when expressing any sentient behavior. Even though my blurry vision couldn't distinguish the object near me, I grabbed it and held it up to my face to see if it was, in fact, the special pen. It was. It swirled with the rainbow of colors I loved so much. Sighing with relief, I went to stand up and banged my head on the underside of the desk, causing it to tip over along with my chair. A few other students in the class winced, stopping their clinking braille writers to turn towards my monumental accident. "Whoa," Jessie said. "Are you always that hard-headed there, Nick?" "You are such a riot," I playfully fired back, rubbing my throbbing head. Jesse unfolded his cane and came over to help me up. I could see the deep black of his skin in front of the bright fluorescent lights as his blurry form came into focus. I took his outstretched hand as he pulled me up to my feet. Still holding his hand, I caught a glimpse of a flashy grin before he patted me and went back to his seat. In my shirt pocket, I suddenly heard my special pen groan amidst the whispers of other students. "Oh, yeah," I thought. "Now you have something to express. How funny." Shaking my head, still rubbing it, I looked for the familiar blurry outline of my best friend Amanda, who was still sitting in the front of the room, furiously typing on her electronic braille note-taker next to other students unzipping their backpacks. As I walked towards her and her form became clearer, I noticed that she had changed her hair color yet again. This time, it matched her icy blue eyes. "How strange," I said, dodging a few tapping canes as some classmates left early. "What's that, your face?" The pen chuckled in my pocket after her reply. Upon hearing the high-pitched chortle, Amanda giggled, leaned towards my shirt pocket, and started talking to the pen as if it, instead of I, were her best friend. "It's good to see you didn't lose your sense of humor, Pointy." "You know I don't like that nickname," I snapped. "And no, I was referring to your extremely bright blue hair." I was very tired of having green hair. Anyway, why didn't you ask Jesse to sit with us at lunch today? You had the perfect opportunity, you know. He wouldn't want to be asked out on a date while in the midst of saving me from a disaster. I didn't say date, I said lunch. The pen sighed in my pocket. Amanda suddenly sat bolt upright, turned towards me, and stared towards my voice. "Oh my God. You're still afraid of telling him how you feel, aren't you?" "Quiet," I hissed as the bell rang, and various students around me snapped their canes open, put their large print or braille books away, and began shuffling out of the classroom, creating a rhythm with their canes. "Why should I be quiet?" Amanda said, to the backdrop of cell phone screen readers around us. "No one's going to pay attention to me anyway. They think I'm weird." I glanced at the black t-shirt she had on. Enlarged white letters spelled out in print and braille, "I totally see you." "Gotcha," I said, nodding absently. At that moment, a cane briefly thwacked me on the leg. I turned and saw Jesse making his way out of the room. He looked very strong and confident and extremely cute, with his buzzed hair and eye-catching smile, and his huge, warm hands, holding onto his cane with his very firm muscles on his arms. "Oh, goodness, I'm so sorry," he said, smiling. "Your cane looks nice," I blurted. I could immediately feel my heart beginning to pound, and my face growing so hot that the Earth's temperature rose a few degrees. After giggling, Jesse said, "Well, I'm sure yours looks really nice too, Nick." He smiled again and started to head out, but stopped and turned back to us. "Oh, hey, Amanda. Sorry about that. I'm just in a rush because the school library has some new audiobooks by Black authors I want to check out. I didn't want you to think I was ignoring you." The pen sighed in my pocket. Jessie laughed, probably thinking the pen was Amanda. "Oh, no worries, dear. I was admiring my non-perfect cane." As Jessie laughed, turning towards the doorway leading to the hallway, I took a deep breath and cleared my throat. "Bye," I called. Despite my throat clearing, my voice cracked. As soon as he was gone and we were left alone in the classroom, Amanda walloped me hard with her cane pouch after I sat the pen on the table before us. "You seriously are afraid of him? Like he's a mad scientist or something? Why?" "I'm not afraid of him. I'm afraid of my own feelings. Like, what if he's not gay?" "That's why," she said with an emphasized thump of her cane pouch against my arm, "you use Pointy to express how you feel. Let them do the writing." I sighed and put the pen back in my pocket, where it cooed happily. I distinctly heard canes thwacking against walls and lockers slamming shut. "You could charm Jesse with your personality," Amanda said. "You really could. I mean, it's not like he can see your brown hair and green eyes after all." Yeah, I replied, leaning on an empty chair. The trouble was, I didn't feel great, or smart, or inspirational, or witty. I felt ordinary. I didn't understand what the pen saw in me that made me worthy of Jesse. The pen had told me before that we both were very caring people. That time Jesse had signed his name in my yearbook last year, our junior year, the pen had been able to glimpse his true character. But what if it was wrong about me? I was sure the pen wasn't wrong about Jesse because, in my eyes, Jesse had a heart of gold. He'd often give hungry kids lunch money because the school district didn't believe in free lunches. Jesse, like me, believed that there was a huge issue in the system, but still he wanted to ease their pain. He never asked for anything back. "Look," Amanda said. "Pointy said before they would be willing to help. And they are a pretty good pen, it seems. I mean, morally speaking, so why not use Pointy? Pointy wants to help, so let Pointy help." "But Jesse doesn't want me," I said. The pen began to whimper in my pocket, but I plowed on. "I'm serious." "I don't think so. I think you're wrong," Amanda said. "Catch him at the library before you go to the dorm today. Talk to him. Ask him to eat lunch with you on Mystery Meat Friday during lunch period," she giggled. The pen giggled too. I sighed and stood up. I walked over to my now upright desk, retrieved my cane, and popped it open. Feeling dread, I made my way to our school library. My heart continued to pound as I entered the library and began making my way to the Braille books. Jesse was a bit old school in the sense that, even though he loved downloading Braille books online and reading them on his refreshable Braille display, he said it was still epic to hold a book in his hands. The longer I searched for his blurry, familiar form, the louder my heart seemed to pound. I mean, what would I do if I actually ran into him? What would I say if I actually... Suddenly, I yelped and leaped back. I realized that I had just crashed into Jesse. Whipping around, he caught me as I tripped on a chair while backing away from him. Holding on to his vice-like grip, I gasped for air as he looked at me worriedly. Seeing the concerned look on his face made my stomach do a somersault. Oh, wow, was he handsome and caring, and he was holding me... "Nick?" "I was thinking about you and wasn't looking where I was going," I babbled. The pen chuckled in my pocket. Jesse was still close enough for me to see a grin dance across his lips and light up his eyes. "What a coincidence. I never look where I'm going, he said with that broad grin still touching his eyes. But, you said you were thinking about me? Well, I murmured. I mean, I was thinking about recommending you a book. You know, because, well, you read books, and I read books too. But anyway, there's a black book. I mean, a black writer you should definitely check out because he writes LGBT literature featuring... I trailed off, staring at his face. I began to hear my breathing increase in volume. My heart was pounding even harder, and my breathing soon became very rapid. LGBT? He asked, curiously. Yeah, I choked. His forehead furrowed, but then he gave me a small smile before hugging me. Whoa, Nick, your heart is beating so fast. Are you okay? Here, let's sit. He took my now sweaty palm and sat down at a back table still near the braille section. He still held onto my hand as we sat down. He then took my hand into his huge, warm hands and gripped it tightly. Let's take a minute and breathe, okay? Let's calm down. He calmly inhaled, then exhaled a few times before I realized I was supposed to copy him. When I calmed down, he went back to the shelf and retrieved the braille book he was looking at before. This book is an LGBT fantasy by a black writer. I think you'd like it. Mind if I read to you? Actually, wait, I have an idea. He took out his braille display and went to go get some print paper for me. When he returned, he smiled after setting the paper down before me. Let's have some fun, he said, eagerness in his voice. Let's make a TBR list for each other. We both like to read, so wouldn't it be great if we could get to know one another through our book lists? He paused before continuing. Oh, and don't worry about the print. I'll have someone read it to me. The pen squeaked excitedly in my pocket. Jessie smiled and then suddenly chuckled. I always knew you were cute. Cute? I repeated, like I didn't understand words. He smiled and began typing on his braille note-taker. His looked to be a newer model than Amanda's, so I wondered if he wasn't secretly looking me up online or something. I took the pen out of my pocket and set it on the print paper. I first made my book list, which transformed into braille. Beneath the book list, I placed the pen on a free spot. Before writing, though, I bent down and whispered to it. Help me. The pen gave an excited sigh and began composing. I watched my arm move across the page with a flourish. I, unfortunately, couldn't tell what the pen was creating because the words were turning into braille faster than I could read. After a few minutes, Jesse got up and went to a wireless printer nearby. He handed me a large print-typed sheet. I hope the font size is good enough, he said. I just coded a conversion program into this thing, so I hope my coding skills are good. I'm amazed, I gasped, feeling extremely impressed and touched. I set his book list aside and looked at my book list I was giving to Jesse, filled with perfectly spaced tactile dots. I cleared my throat, adjusted myself in my chair, and picked up the paper, handing it to Jesse. Upon taking the paper and feeling the braille dots, Jesse's eyes bulged. Wow, this is really pleasant. He trailed off, his fingers carefully going over every contraction, every letter. He didn't move. He sat there, still as a statue, but with a look of pure shock on his face. When he was done, I looked over to see a tear rolling down his cheek. He read the paper again, this time letting the tears flow more freely. When he was all done, he gaped at me. You are so sweet. I love your book list, and I love your note. I really do. I took the paper back from him. The dots were transforming into bold print block letters again. Before I read it, though, I turned to Jesse. Look, I have something I want to confess. I've had a crush on you for a while now. I've liked you ever since we did that English project together back in freshman year. The one where we had to argue for banning problematic classic literature in schools. You were so poised and so ready, I felt like you were better than me in every way. I thought also that you were extremely nice and someone that was worth getting to know. I guess what I'm trying to say is, you make me want to be who I know I am. You're an inspiration to me, but that's because I feel so average and ordinary that I just looked up to you a lot. But I've realized that I do have a lot to offer someone. I've got a few quirks about me, but I'm a pretty okay person. And I feel extremely comfortable being myself around you. You're the first person I've ever wanted to improve alongside, you know? He didn't say anything for a while. He just sat there, staring at where my voice was coming from. Finally, he said, "I've always thought you were really smart. I also always thought you were really cute. And again, I love your book list. I'm glad you opened up to me. I really am. It would definitely be an honor to be your friend." He gave a small laugh as he added, "And possibly more. We can share book lists together, even if we break up." I laughed along with him. My heart ballooned into extreme admiration and peace. I let out a huge sigh, then turned to Jessie. "Can I eat lunch with you tomorrow? I'll start checking these books out today and let you know which ones I cried over because the endings were so sweet." "Of course. I'm going to go check out these books, but I'm really honored that you opened up to me. Thank you, Nick. You're very strong." As he stood up to leave and unfolded his cane, he gave me a small hug before departing. I picked up the paper, the one Pointy had written on, and read the note below my book list. "Hi, Jessie. As you know, I'm Nick. After you read my book list, I have something I want to tell you. But I don't want to tell you through my writing. I want to tell you through my own words. But just know that even though what I want to say is very scary, just know that it's all good things about you. I've always been too afraid to approach you, until now. I really, really like you. I even love you as a friend, and possibly more. But I've always been afraid to speak up for myself until today. I know this is nerve-wracking for you, but I swear, you won't be disappointed in what I have to say. The reason I'm telling you this in person now is because you've given me hope and courage. Here I go. But whatever happens, I just want you to know that I will always love you, even if we detest each other's books." The end.
That was Pointy Canes. So, Robert, tell me a little bit about this book and where the inspiration came to write this. Feels
Yeah,
rather
sure.
personal.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So Nick was basically me in high school. Um, I was very, very, um, very shy, very bookish. I didn't talk to anybody I had a crush on. So Nick has more strength than I did in high school. But um, the prompt actually came from it was an anthology prompt,
Mm.
and the prompt was to write a story involving a sentient pen. So so I thought, what about a sentient pen uh, that can turn print into Braille? So it started out as a short story and has since expanded into a novel that is currently the novel is also called Pointy Chances, but it's a young adult uh, romantic comedy that is currently on mission, and I hope a publisher picks it up because it's very light hearted, and I just think that joy is a thing that we don't really get to see a lot in media. I think that media likes to lean more towards the dystopian rather than joy.
Mm.
So I wanted to create a joyful kind of story, but I wanted to include real aspects of going to a blind school and things like that.
So Pointy Chances is now a full novel.
Yes.
Um, is this your most recent novel?
Yes. Yes. It's my most recent novel that I've completed. So very happy for that. So yay.
Is it somewhere that people can start purchasing it, or are you still just waiting for it to be picked up by a publisher?
I'm still waiting for it to be picked up by a publisher.
So what does that process look like then? Do you give it to your agent and have your agent shop around, or
Pretty much.
yeah, okay.
Yeah. 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 Pretty much. But I mean, it's so writers, we take it to our agents, and then our agents uh, take it to their contacts and things, and then they uh, negotiate on our behalf, and so but traditional publishing is very, very slow.
Right.
So when my agent uh, writes to an editor or to an acquisitions editor, he's often told me that he doesn't hear back uh, until like 2 months later. So
Wow.
it's a very slow kind of industry, but yeah. So
Wow.
um,
That's incredible.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So
Um, so that book is out in the universe, out in the ether, I guess, in somebody's
yes,
inbox, waiting to,
right,
you're fishing, you're in an inbox, you're waiting for a bite.
right. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. All right. I like this. And then I guess if you find a publisher, then it'll be available, I guess, in paperback and in audio, and that's how that rolls out.
Yes. 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 I've told my agent up front that that I want um, I want everything I do to be in audio. So whatever contract you negotiate, put audio into the contract. So
Sense.
uh, and uh, and for this one, um, I also I told him to do a unique kind of thing as well. Um, so publishers really don't utilize this, but I wanted to see what would happen if I negotiate for the publisher to publish the ebook as a braille ready
Hmm.
format. So my agent is like, nobody has ever asked for those rights to be used. Uh, Nobody has ever asked for that kind of format to be made. So you might turn the publisher's office inside out with just that one request. I'm like, oh, well, good. So,
They
yeah,
need to learn.
yep, yep,
For folks who
definitely.
may not be Braille users here in the space, who may just be low vision or reading large text, um, what does that like? What does that look like to have? Because you're not talking about an actual physical Braille book, because
Right.
that
No.
would be many volumes of a lot of paper
Yes.
physically. But how does this translate into digital Braille?
Right. So I am a novice Braille reader myself. I but how it translates is there is a Braille ready format which basically does what it says on the tin. It optimizes the file for Braille displays. So, so like if you have a Mantis Q, I think it's called, the one from Humanware.
Mm-hmm.
So you could put um, you could put a Braille ready uh, format onto your Braille display, and it's going to be nicely formatted, specifically tailored to that kind of Braille display. Whereas the a PDF or something, it doesn't always render correctly on a Braille display. So
Yep.
you have to do extra things to make it read nicely, e- especially if you want grade 2 or um, or even, I don't know if grade 3 is still a thing anymore, um, but, but if you wanted grade 1 or grade 2, uh, then a Braille ready format could easily switch uh, from grade 1 and grade 2, uh, whereas a PDF and things, you can't really manipulate it.
Yeah.
Um, and sometimes uh, text is garbled and everything. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I can
yeah.
imagine words being cut off or
Yep.
letters not being recognized or those
Hmm.
kinds of things. Yeah.
Right. Yep.
Yep. Okay.
Exactly.
That's great context. And I don't know for sure. Is that like a thing that Duxbury does, the software Duxbury?
I haven't used Duxbury in like 20 years. So,
So
so
there's probably a newer one out there.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you can tell I'm not a Braille reader. I just know enough to get me into trouble. Um,
Me
so,
too. So,
yeah,
so it's
right.
okay.
Yeah. All right. The next story you've got to share with us called A Deserving Conference.
Yes.
How do you want to introduce this story, Robert?
Yeah. So so this is another romance, but it's a little bit on the darker side of romance. So I wanted to capture what would um, what would a toxic relationship look like uh, among two blind people, because we see um, a lot
Mm,
that well, um, people taking advantage of blind people, and they don't have any disabilities. So that kind of got me thinking, okay, so when I was commissioned for this, my prompt was to write about someone that shows up at a random place after reading a comments section. So that really got me thinking and pondering. And for this one, I really wanted to showcase technology. So pay attention to how technology is used in this. So.
Okay, awesome. I'm excited to take a listen with everybody. So, Rick, when you're ready, let's hit play on A Deserving Conference.
Brick Moon Fiction presents A Deserving Conference by Robert Kingett, narrated by Nicholas Thurkettle. I hit enter before I consciously realized it. I couldn't help it, though. The post spoke to me in a way no other had. I could identify with the blogger really easily because they were coming from a place deep within themselves. I knew this about them without even having to know them. I experienced everything they were experiencing. The confusion of navigating a world that was straight and able-bodied. I looked at the post again, rather than the comment I just posted. The blogger, who, apparently, lived in the same small town as I did, was musing about the intersection of disability and queer identity. Every bit of her post sang to me and resonated with me, even though I was a gay blind male and she was a deaf lesbian blogger. We had a lot in common, so I decided to open up, on a screen this time. I went back into her post, skimming it with my screen reader, fluently navigating her page and picking out key passages that leapt out at me. How she liked to go to a certain singular LGBT-friendly coffee shop to just be amongst her own because the rest of the world was too exhausting. That's something that I related to, obviously, which is why I poured my heart out into her comments section. I told her that we lived in the same town and that I ultimately wanted the same thing she did, a space to exist and not explain. Constantly. A place to live rather than constantly fight. A place to nestle rather than constantly be vigilant for any slight in my basic human rights as a gay blind man. I used my screen reader's keyboard commands to jump to the heading on the page where all the comments nestled. Ever since Trump became president, the brave soldiers kept coming out of the woodwork to proclaim yet again about how they don't hate gay people, but isn't this diversity thing a little too much? I moved my cursor down to my novelette, listened to a few lines, just appreciating it. It felt like I was doing something grand, especially since I've never read this blog before. I came across the silent triangle when I was doing a random search on Google for other gay disabled bloggers. She came up. I devoured all her posts but never commented. I guess there's a first time for everything. I didn't tell anybody this, however. None of my friends knew she existed. My current boyfriend, Travis, also didn't know she existed. She was my little queer secret. She was a treasure to me, and I didn't even fully realize it until today. As soon as I pressed Alt F4 to close the browser, I heard the sound of keys turning outside the front door. Travis had returned home, it seemed. I quickly pressed the keyboard commands to change the speed of the screen reader back to its original rate. Travis insisted that, ever since I moved in his place months ago, that I digitally pick up after myself. If I changed a setting, he'd expect me to change it back, even though he could easily do it himself with a few keyboard commands. I heard him tell Alexa to enable the security system, and then he traipsed through the wooden-floored rooms to look for me. "I'm in here," I called out to the retreating thud-thud of his wandering sneakers. The sound doubled back to my direction. I knew Travis was nearby because of his scent, so I stood up to hug him and held his cane for him. Even though his cane was a vastly different model than mine, even going as far as to have a pencil tip as opposed to a mushroom tip, even though we lived in a small town where sidewalks had a lot of cracks, I could handle it pretty easily. It was like sighted people driving a stick shift when they were used to an automatic or something. I wasn't an expert on cars. "Hey, babe," I chirped. His baritone had an unhappy lilt to it as he hugged me while replying, "Hey, so how was your, quiet time?" His long, skinny arms didn't even envelop me like they used to. They just haphazardly embraced me. He then pulled away and sternly looked at me. I could sense it, even though he couldn't see either. I looked up at his face, eager to stand on tiptoes to kiss him, but before I could, he asked me if I had been cheating on him. "Oh yeah," I snorted. "I met this deaf blogger online, and well, now I think I'm going to leave you to become a fabulous lesbian." He didn't laugh. At least not in a way I could tell. His breath peppered my face with resemblance of cheese and milk as he sternly retorted, "That's not funny, Shane. First you tell me you don't want to go shopping with me, then you tell me you're going to go lesbian." "You don't just go lesbian," I countered, but he sighed, kissed the top of my head, and ruffled my hair. His massive, soft hands felt comforting and inviting. They could make me feel like nothing would ever hurt me or bother me again, which is why I positively melted like a puddle every time we held hands. When we were first dating, people would ask us all the time if we knew that we were in an interracial relationship. I always rolled my eyes and exclaimed that I never noticed the difference. In fact, I thought we were distant family or something. I moved in with him because he was a really kind guy from the get-go. He was always attentive to my needs and wants. Having an abusive father and a mother who bailed on me at an early age nestled this craving inside of me. It made me want to have love and affection. I didn't feel special, but Travis always told me I was before talking about himself, so I dropped everything to move into the house his mother left him after she died. It seemed fitting, and so far, I couldn't complain. What was really great about Travis and I was the fact that he understood the blindness straight away. He lived in the same world I did. I didn't care that he was black. He, in turn, didn't seem to care that I was white either. We were the blind ambition, I'd always joke. He sighed before turning away from me, still holding my hand as he flicked through his iPhone with the other hand. I could hear the tiny sound of voiceover through his headphones. He was swiping through the Lyft app, dragging his finger across certain parts rather than navigating the traditional way. He was at the tips screen in Lyft. "How much should I tip my driver?" Travis asked me, before double tapping on a number before I could answer. I continued anyway. "I think you should hit that 15% button," I said. He chuckled before locking his phone and turning around to embrace me. "You're not still raging mad that I didn't go shopping with you?" I asked, half joking, but he smiled as he said, "Oh yes, I'm insanely furious." His voice adopted a slightly commanding tone as he said, "You should have come with me to the store. I'd have been back sooner if you went with me." I didn't see quite how this would be possible, but I immediately shook my head. "You were gone for like an hour. So basically you were in and out." I tapped my phone and VoiceOver read the time out loud. I did a single finger press to get VoiceOver to hush. He gripped me tighter. "You could have done that article when you got home. Whatever, though. You always disobey me anyway," he said, kissing me on the head. Even though this made me slightly uncomfortable, I didn't say anything because it would just make him mad. That's something I revealed in my comment on the blog. I revealed other things, too. Nothing too damaging, I hope. I just wanted straight-sighted people to understand that beneath the differences, we're all human. I did tell her that her relationship sounded really good, and that I was doing okay in mine. Travis dragged me to the kitchen table and sat me down before tapping out a message on his phone. He was using the method I set up for him to start the stove and a few other appliances. Sure, we had Alexa, but with my speech disability, she didn't always understand me. So I had to utilize the power of the internet to make text commands hook into their API. I may have gotten a lot of things wrong in the process, but in the end, I made some adaptive versions of Alexa. I used Google for a lot of these because the Google Assistant had text input capability. Travis was about to cook something, but I didn't know what, so I asked him. "Since you're not going anywhere tonight, with me or otherwise, I guess I'll tell you," he said with a smile. "It's your favorite. Spaghetti." "Great!" I exclaimed while standing up. "Where are you going?" Travis demanded. "To get headphones," I called as I dug my iPhone out of my pocket and issued the various commands to make the AirPods beep. I always had a bad habit of setting them down somewhere and then forgetting about them, even before moving in with Travis. As soon as I picked up my phone, I heard the notification sound and then VoiceOver reading the notification. I was too busy getting my headphones to hear it, though, so I opened up the notification center with a few gestures. Travis had tweeted that he was cooking dinner for me because I loved him. He tagged me in the tweet, so I replied after retweeting it. @TheWeirdKitty, @MagicalCook, of course I do. You're the best. Guess what he's making for me tonight, guys? My favorite. I love him so much. I closed the Twitter app and navigated to my email. VoiceOver had a little trouble staying focused on open messages, but my thumb was accustomed to fighting with the screen reader. I thought about checking it on my laptop, but I wanted to be on the alert in case my Writer's Retreat application results came in. The largest LGBT literary organization was hosting a 2-week writer retreat with everything paid for, even train ride. The $30 application fee seemed like a microscopic sacrifice compared to, well, everything else they offered in return. I found my earbuds and walked back into the kitchen, sat at the table, and flicked through all my emails, using the trusty two-finger swipe down to listen to novellas from my best straight girlfriend about all of her Africa adventures. "What are you listening to, babe?" Travis asked every few minutes. "Email," I replied repeatedly. I really didn't understand why he was so worried about not being able to hear what I was doing on my iPhone. I nearly missed the email from the writer's retreat organizer. The email subject sounded like spam, so I nearly told VoiceOver to delete it. Upon opening it, however, I couldn't stop gaping. I couldn't believe what VoiceOver was telling me. I was stunned. "What are you listening to, babe?" Travis asked again. I couldn't hold it in. I absolutely had to tell him. "Guess what? So you know that conference? You know the one where I cried for 1,000,000,000 hours over last time because I didn't make it in? Guess what? I made it in." I expected him to jump up and down for me or something, but he stood very quiet, just a few feet from me, working on the dinner. He finally said, "That's great, babe. How did this happen?" "I don't know," I exclaimed, practically bouncing out of the solar system. "I guess they just liked my work this time. Oh my God, Travis, I'm so happy. Now I will be in California for 2 weeks. I can't believe it. I'll get to be around other queer authors and queer editors, and I am just so, oh my God, excited." "I'm very happy for you, babe. I hope we can squeeze in one more trip together here before you go away for, what was it, 3 years? 2 weeks, I said, laughing. "I'm so excited, Travis. I can't believe this is happening. I mean, it's happened, but I don't believe it's happened. I mean, it happened, but oh my God, oh my God, oh my God." I was too busy gushing and squealing to realize that Travis had set a full plate of spaghetti down before me. I gobbled it up, jabbering the whole while. "Oh my God. Travis, what kinds of readings do you think I will do there? How do you think the food will be at the hotel?" "So, babe, how do you like your spaghetti? I made it for you just the way you like it. Is it as good as always? What kinds of techniques do you think I'm going to learn? I mean, they got workshops there and stuff like that, so I bet I'm going to learn a lot of writing stuff, like techniques and otherwise. And guess what? I get to be with other queer writers." "I'm a little confused," Travis chastised as he chewed. "What does that offer that you can't do here? I mean, I still don't understand why you go to that LGBT coffee shop nearby when you could be staying here with me, away from all those other boys." "Oh, well, it's going to be a place to work and a place to network." "See, there's a neat invention, Shane. It's called social media. It's called email. Why do you have to go away for so long, around other gay men? I mean, what's stopping a man from taking you away from me?" "But I don't understand what your big deal is. Yes, there's going to be people there, and yes, there's going to be other gay people there, but it's a place to work and network. Yeah, I can do that online. I've been doing that online for years. This is a once-in-a-lifetime chance. And as for the coffee shop, I just need to get out of here for a while." "Oh, so you don't like me then? You don't like being around me then? I see how this goes. Why do you always have to think about yourself and you never even stop to consider what I want or need?" I shook my head, confused as to why he was so upset and what he was even upset about. "Travis, what are you so mad about?" "Shane, I'm upset because you don't even want to be around me. You want to go off and go away from me to be with other gay guys? A relationship has to have loyalty, you know?" "Loyalty? Are you kidding me? Loyalty? What? I've been loyal to you." "Why can't you right here, huh?" I didn't want to answer because I, in part, didn't know how to explain that I felt, in a way, like I was being smothered. I felt trapped, in a way, but I couldn't explain how I felt this way or even why I felt this way because I loved Travis. Travis was my everything. "Look, Shane," Travis continued, "I'm just worried about you is all. I just don't want you to get hurt. When you're here, I can protect you better. I can..." "But wait, see, I don't understand this about you either, Travis. I don't get it. I really don't. If I have to be loyal to you, then you have to trust me in return, okay? Don't assume that just because you can't hear voiceover, that doesn't mean I'm cheating on you, okay? Look, besides, this isn't like that anyway. Consider this work, okay? "How do you like your dinner?" Travis asked in a defeated voice. I immediately felt bad, and like all of his unhappiness was my fault and something I needed to fix, because I thought I had him, and that was all the people I had here. Friends were rare for me at the place I lived, so I had no choice but to trust him. He sounded so defeated, I immediately rushed over and kissed his cheek, snuggling into his arms and having him rock me, which we both enjoyed like you wouldn't believe. It allowed me to melt into his presence and bask in it. He, in turn, never told me why he enjoyed it so much, but I knew he did. I could sense it when he tightened his embrace. He began to cry, and I immediately felt even worse. "Oh my God, I'm so sorry, babe," I exclaimed as I kissed his streaming tears. "Shane, I just don't want you to get hurt, is all," he said as he rocked me. "But, I mean, you gotta let me fall sometimes. Support me while I'm trying to pick myself up. Don't just try to prevent me from falling at all, okay?" "So, you're still going to this thing?" "I am, yeah," I said, kissing him. "I'll blog about it, so you can read all about it." He smiled, but I still felt guilty. How could I do this to him? I thought, but I really did want this. I've been applying for this retreat for years and was finally accepted. I couldn't eat anymore, so I took my laptop into our bedroom to do some proper emailing. VoiceOver didn't make entering text on an iPhone lightning fast, so that's why I preferred to use a laptop or desktop. My fingers could dance across the keys. Whereas on the iPhone, they fumbled. I emailed the coordinator about accommodations I'd need. All lecture handouts were to be sent to me via email before lectures, and otherwise. They were delighted to have me there. This renewed my fierce desire to go. I wanted to go. I then felt like Travis didn't understand me at all. My thoughts flitted from going to saying that I couldn't attend after all because I had a family emergency, which wouldn't be a total lie, but the bigger question I had, especially when I lay in his arms that night, was, why did he need me? Over the next few days, Travis wouldn't let me out of his sight. The coffee shop around the corner I usually went to was off limits to me because he said he needed help around the house, buying things for our food stash online, and a variety of other things. I was so busy doing little things around the house that I barely had time to talk to the retreat coordinator about my train ticket. We confirmed it over the phone despite my lack of email communication. I apologized to her and explained that my boyfriend needed me to do a lot of things around the house and that I just didn't have enough time to check my email. We finally arranged for me to get on the evening Amtrak. Because of my blindness, I'd have to get there early. I could just take a lift there. Travis knew how to work the Alexa, so I didn't need to do a whole lot to prepare for my trip. Still, though, the excitement of it kept gnawing at me. I was so jittery that I wasn't paying full attention to Travis when he was telling me that he managed to land a gig as an actor down at the local theater. I immediately felt terrible, especially because Travis immediately made me see where I went wrong with my selfishness. Here I am, getting this gig, and you don't even care? All you care about is that conference. Babe, there's gonna be other conferences or whatever, trust me. This play, though, it only runs for this season. So can you stay here and come to this play instead? Travis, you know I want to, but I can't. I'm gonna be in a different state, babe. Look, Shane. I waited on him to continue. Finally, after a long silence, he looked straight at me and said, with the sultry voice that captivated me so many months ago, "I'm so proud of you, Shane." The next day, the day I was to leave for the conference, Travis went somewhere early, which gave me a chance to get out of the house and head down to my coffee shop. I took my laptop because I planned to do some research while there. I unfolded my cane and shorelined the whole way there, humming as I went. I was still ecstatic about where I'd be going in a few days. I made it and ordered my usual iced coffee before taking a seat in my usual booth at the back. When Jonathan, the manager who's gotten to know me well over these past few years, asked me where I'd been, I told him the truth. I told him I was being a house dad. I couldn't hold in my excitement, though, and told him all about the conference and my eventual victory. He was so happy for me, he said I could have anything on the house for a week while I was away. Chuckling, he offered me anything he had in stock. On the house, he kept insisting. I chose a new kind of coffee I had never tried before. Cuban coffee. It was utterly delicious. Because I was gulping away, I didn't notice someone sat down across from me until they said my name. Shane Gilson? I jumped so badly I nearly dropped my drink. A soft hand touched my arm as I sat down my cup. It's okay. I'm, sincerely sorry I scared you. I'm Roger. Roger? I repeated, completely confused. But, hi, I'm Shane Gilson. Nice to meet you. I know who you are. I've read all about you from your blog, and if I may say so, you're a cutie. You are epic looking in person. Despite this weird exchange, I couldn't help but smile and joke. You mean I'm not good looking in my pictures online? His chuckle made me stop and pay attention to him. His voice floated a good way above my head, so I guessed he was 6 feet tall. It was a very soft voice, very soothing and calculated, but somehow possessed the lax cadence of someone who just simply didn't let every minor thing bother him. I suddenly homed in on the fact that he said I was cute. These were times when I wish I could get a visual picture. Still, I liked his calm manner of speaking. I detected a slight accent but couldn't quite place it. New York, maybe? He dipped his tone subconsciously at the end of certain vowels, but that didn't give any region away. Actually, he said, on the contrary, you're cute in person and online, he said, with a smiling lilt in his voice. He smiled easily, so this was a plus. It's nice to meet you, I said, stretching out my hand. A big, strong, yet smooth hand gripped mine and shook it softly. I immediately liked the warmth of his hands. They almost seemed as if they were magical. I'm so happy you're here today, he said, and I detected eagerness in his speech. He was waiting on me to be here, but why? Wait, I interjected. Wait, you knew I was going to be here? But we've never met. Do you come here often or something? No, I just came here today. This is my first time, he said, still holding on to my hand. I didn't mind. But still, if this was his first time here, then how did he know my name? How did you know I come here? I mean, my blog doesn't say anything about the address of the place or anything. So honestly, I'm a little worried about how you found me and the fact you, found me to begin with. Yeah, I tracked you down, honestly. I tracked you down from a comment you left on my sister's blog. But I didn't. I took a deep breath and tried again. Is your sister deaf? Yep, she's deaf. She's deaf! I squeaked, as if I didn't know how to process English. He chuckled, and I nearly melted into a puddle of bliss. His laughter was beyond infectious. That blog post you left your comment on. That's my sister's blog. Oh, woot! I retorted romantically, causing him to giggle in reply. Beside us, I could hear some dudes muttering about the queer agenda has gone too far, simply because we were allowed to laugh and be human and hold hands like any other straight couple. So, I began, ignoring the jerks. What do you look like? It was the only logical thing I could think of, after being told that I had just been stalked by some guy named Roger. Well, I'm black, he said, and I shook my head. I mean, describe your face, not your color. So he did, as he was telling me all about how average-looking he was, but that his eyes were very big. I tried to squash the mounting fear that this stranger, this man, stalked me. But why? I had to cut him off. I'm sorry, but why did you stalk me? Stalk? He asked, perplexed. Oh, I'm so sorry if it looks like... Dude, it is stalking. It's not like anything. It is, in fact, stalking. I'm so sorry, Shane. I really am. His voice was so soft and soothing I believed him without even trying to. I'm so sorry. I really am. I'm sorry. I guess you didn't get my email or tweets. Email? Tweets? Oh, no. I mean, it's still stalking, but no, I didn't. My boyfriend needed me around the house and... You mean Travis? That's why I'm here, actually. My grip tightened on his hand, but he didn't seem to mind. In fact, he took his other hand and gently caressed it, which is something Travis never did. I instantly melted and gripped his hand tighter. Without warning, tears sprang to my eyes, but I fought to keep them at bay and stared hard at where I imagined his wide eyes to be. Why are you here? What do you know about Travis? I mean, why are you even here? He's my boyfriend. We're great together. I could sense him shaking his head. No, Shane, you're not. I've read your blogs. I've read everything I can about you. I've read Travis's Twitter feed over the past few days and even became friends with him on Facebook. Shane, listen to me, okay? You're in an abusive relationship. And you have a heart of gold. I know this because I've pored over every heartfelt thing you've ever written about your grandmother dying, about how you loved Easter last year because you got to hold bunnies in your arms, about how you've been applying to this conference and, well, how you've been working so hard. I read Travis's stuff, too. He's how I found out that you made it in. I was stunned, but I let him continue. I know Travis's whole deal. I've watched him over these past few days, too. I've watched him and read his posts and everything. He's not happy you are going to be far away from him. Hell, he's not happy you got in at all. Look, I snapped, unable to keep my heart from pounding and tears escaping. He loves me. He loves me. I love him. We're going to get married. I couldn't finish, and he knew I couldn't finish. He just took my hands in his and we sat there, basking in each other's desires and company. Finally, after letting me quietly cry, he said, still holding my hands between his on the table, "A person who's as beautiful as you are deserves better. A person who's as sweet." "I can't leave," I said. I just sat there crying and letting everything pour out. I thought this was what love was. I thought that love had to become really painful before it could become great. Roger told me it didn't have to be this painful. When I gathered my things to leave hours later, Roger insisted that I take down his number into my phone. I didn't hear a screen reader on his phone, so I guessed that he was sighted. He was. He then offered to drive me home. I accepted, but I was scared of what Travis would say and think and do. He said to call him if I needed to, but I didn't want to be a burden. He squeezed my hand and said an angel like me would never be a burden. And just like that, I burst into tears, and I didn't even know why. Halfway home, however, my phone buzzed. VoiceOver told me I had a new email, so I did the needed gestures and double taps to open my email. Before I could look at the message, however, my battery died. He let me out after arriving at my house and told me to call him if I needed to. I wouldn't need to, though, because I had Travis, and he was just some creepy stalker. When I entered the house, however, the thing that immediately caught my attention was the hum of the desktop in the computer room. Travis was on the computer earlier, I guessed. I went into the computer room and used the keyboard commands to see what was open. Firefox was open. I pressed the commands to jump by headings and other navigational elements and soon realized that the Amtrak page was open. I guessed Travis was planning for a trip in the future. Good, he needed to get away for a while. I closed the tab and stopped when the screen reader started reading the other open tab. It was my comment, the one I left days ago. How did Travis find this? I quickly dashed to the nearest outlet and plugged my phone in because I had a feeling why that Amtrak page was open. The latest email was an email from Amtrak, thanking me for my service cancellation. "So," a baritone voice drawled behind me, making me jump. "Looks like you'll be missing your train, huh?" Travis sneered. "I told you, you gotta be safe, and you won't be safe with anybody else except me." I heard the computer room door slam shut, and Travis stepped towards me. I needed to keep him talking and somehow hook my headphones in as well so he couldn't hear what I was doing. But why the hell would you do that? What? Why? You're crazy, man. "Oh, Shane, I'm not crazy. I love you. Remember?" My thumb had never flown so fast over my screen before, but it landed on Roger's number. Instead of trying to text, I called him, hoping he would pick up. With the iPhone on the charger and Bluetooth earbuds on, I dropped my phone onto the chair. I heard Roger pick up as Travis stepped closer, grabbing me by the shirt. "Why did you cancel my train? Why?" "Dishonesty doesn't need a reason," Travis growled. "You want to sneak off with some other man and leave me? Huh?" He shook me, but I kicked him. He dropped me, and I dashed to the door, but I was tackled from behind. A car honked outside, but Travis didn't hear it. I screamed just as his hand clamped over my mouth. I bit down, hard, causing him to yell and elbow me in the gut. I kicked, but he grabbed me and threw me against the wall. The front door burst open, though, and Roger's hands grabbed me. At first I thought they were Travis's and tried kicking him, but he yelled at me to stop, and we soon sprinted towards the door, with Travis hot on our heels. Passing the threshold, I turned back and kicked out randomly, hoping I'd connect with something. My foot landed near Travis's knee, and he fell down, howling in pain. I tripped trying to hold on to Roger as we dove into his car. I told him my phone was still back there, but he said we could get it later. He revved the engine, spun around, and we shot away from the mirage I thought was love. We didn't go back to Roger's house, though. Instead, he called Amtrak to book me a train to the conference and back again. I thanked him endlessly and asked if he knew where I could get a new phone. He said he would mail one to me at the conference. I was amazed Amtrak still had seats open, but I guess luck was on my side. Roger pulled up and walked with me to the train. I then explained, stupidly, that I didn't have any clothes. He said he would take care of it while I was on the train. Clothes would be waiting for me at the hotel. I tried to convince him UPS doesn't work like that, but he shushed me. I felt so guilty for even accepting his gifts, but he seemed determined to help me. To show me a better world, I guessed. Before I stepped onto the train, I turned to Roger, intending to say bye for now, but instead, I asked why he helped me. He mused. I guess it's because I knew you were a beautiful person. When I was figuring out how Travis was treating you, well, I guess, honestly, I wanted to show you that you don't need someone like Travis to be the person you deserve to be. With that, he kissed me goodbye. For now.
Oh, I like that one.
Thank you.
You're right, a little bit darker,
Yes.
but there's hope at the end. Hope for the beginning of something new, perhaps.
Yes. Yes. Hopefully. Yeah. That unfortunately is the most autobiographical piece of fiction that I've written. But yeah, but I mean, I didn't have a Roger to swoop in and rescue, but I channeled a lot of things into the story, the technology, the subtleties of being blind in a relationship. So just a lot of things that went into that story. So yeah.
I am sorry to hear that, Robert. It's one of the things that we talk about up here in Canada a lot, and I don't know if it's the same in the States, but when you're on disability income and you're a partner and your income can be tied to your partner,
Yep.
and that means that it can be harder to leave if you're in an abusive relationship because your income is tied so closely together. So
exactly right.
Yeah. So it puts people who are already vulnerable in an even more vulnerable position.
Yes, it's exactly. I'm kind of shocked to hear that Canada is pretty much the same thing here, because we have a lot of penalties. Like, for example, if we get legally married to any gender, our income is tied to the other person. It doesn't matter if they're disabled or non-disabled. So I was under the mistaken impression that Canada would have had more aggressive kind of policies in that kind of area, but I guess not. So
Yeah, I mean, I've never been married, so I don't know what it's like if for the average married couple. I just know that I have people in the disability community that I'm friends with where two people are on disability income and they do their best to hide that from the government so that
yeah,
their assets aren't pooled together and that income isn't cut back, and that they don't have to file together, and it's like a whole thing. And then I had somebody chat with me about this because they were stuck in a relationship, similar to what you were talking about, where they could not leave because their income was tied to the other person's and it was clawed back so much that they couldn't afford to leave.
yep,
um,
right,
and that's a
yeah,
devastating reason to not be able to get out, right?
yeah, and that's what Shane alluded to when Q told Roger, he's like, I can't leave. So that was I yeah, so like I said, a lot of disability things were just poured into
Yeah.
that story. So
Yeah.
glad you liked it, even though it was a bit darker.
Well, representation matters, whether it's the joyous story ever or the dark side of the disability experience, because I think one, it resonates, obviously, because we all know somebody who's going through stuff like this. And two, if the general public doesn't know that these things are part of the insidious system,
Mhm.
um, I think that that's a bigger problem, right? Like, you
Right,
can't just bury your head in the sand and pretend that we're all taken care of by our governments.
right, yeah, yeah,
um,
exactly. Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, it would be a very nice dream, but
Yeah, that's right.
you know,
I mean, I still get asked if when people find out I'm blind, I still get asked if I've looked into eyeglasses. Have I tried any eyeglasses?
me too. Yep,
Yeah,
yep.
that's kind of the been there,
I've
done that, you know? Yeah.
I've had people ask me, have you tried optic nerve implants? And I'm like, oh, I didn't. I don't think you can implant someone else's optic nerve into.
Yeah, once you cut that optic nerve, that's yeah, there's no coming back from that. Yet, anyways. Yeah, people come up with the darndest things. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
So
Well, we've got one last story that you've brought with us tonight. This one's called Super Date.
yes.
And how are we introducing this one to the group, Robert?
Super date. So this one actually came about because I was watching Marvel, one of the Marvel superhero movies and things, and I realized that um there, I mean, outside of a few cases, there isn't really the disability experience shown in any kind of superhero movies.
Mhm.
Moreover, um, I wanted to look at what a superhero's life was like wh- when they weren't kind of doing their superhero thing. So that kind of got me thinking how the superhero's life and the disabled person's life are actually very similar. And so after I played around with that, I came up with a question. What would happen if a disabled person went on a date with a superhero? So, uh, and that's what you're about to hear coming up. I would like to say before we begin, this story has been it's been drastically um, edited and and transformed into an audio drama that is currently in production. So you can't listen to it yet, but you get to hear an exclusive draft 1.1.3, if you will. So
Oh, I
hopefully
like it.
you enjoy.
Awesome. This is exciting. All
Yeah.
right, friends, let's have Rick hit play on Super Date.
Super Date by Robert Kingett. I start to head inside the restaurant, but decide against it and choose a wall near the door to lean against. I look around to see if I can spot my date. Unfortunately, everyone looks blurry in the dim light. I wonder for a minute if we should have had a lunch date instead. I'm still visually impaired in the daytime, but at least the blurry blobs will be easier to spot. I wait by the door with a knot in my stomach. My cane taps an uneven rhythm on the ground, vibrating every time someone passes by. Feeling very self-conscious, I wish that my smart cane could identify faces for once and hope that Roger isn't standing me up. In that moment, I sense someone walking up to me. I turn to see a blurry, dark-skinned man sporting a bright yellow shirt. As he gets closer, his outline comes into focus. Thankfully, he speaks first. Travis? His voice is deeper than I imagined, but also surprisingly quiet, floating high above my head. Given that he's easily 6 feet tall, I assumed he'd have a booming voice that commanded attention. Oh, hi. Roger? Hi. I feel my face instantly growing hot. Not even 5 minutes in, and already I've presented myself as jumpy. Brilliant. Yeah, hi, Roger says softly. It's nice to meet you. His hand grips mine in a soft handshake. His grip tightens and loosens randomly, which feels really weird. It's as if he's calculating how much force to put into the handshake. Hey, Travis, your blue eyes are much brighter in person than in your dating pictures. I think they're very cute. Thanks, I say, shyly smiling. My cane vibrates violently, shaking me out of my self-recrimination. And before my eyes can catch the blurry figures, my ears pick up a gaggle of teenagers racing down the street, chasing one another and goofing around. Roger pulls me against the building to safety. And I look up at his admittedly very delectable voice. Maybe we should go inside, he suggests, and I nod. I start as we enter the restaurant. How'd you get here? I mean, how far did you have to travel? It was no problem, really. I flew right over. There's a slight smiling lilt in his voice. I'm glad he has a sense of humor. His voice is also very glamorous. It's a careful mixture of intrigued relaxation and lively boyishness. It's deep, too. I can't stop imagining him reading to me while we're cuddled up in bed late at night. Oh, flu! Wow. You must break the speed limit daily. Or your car's naturally fast. Well, I guess that would depend on, where you live, I guess. I live around here. Did I mention that? I can't stop babbling. I'm so nervous, and every cell in my body is squirming with doubt, fear, and wonder. A part of me wants to just turn around and bolt from the restaurant and then go cry in my pillow for the rest of my life. The other part wants me to hold my head up high and try to calm down. He giggles again, and for some reason it relaxes my thumping heart. Christ, we haven't even sat down yet, and already I'm an emotional wreck. Well, I'm very fast, he responds quickly. It's nice to know I'm not the only one on edge tonight, but I'm surprised that he sounds nervous. Although we've just met, I feel like I'm a little beneath him, because he can probably see the damage that's been done to me by Sean. I want so badly for him to like me that I feel desperate to impress him. My usual waitress seats us. I ask her whether she'll be taking care of us and if the Braille menus have arrived yet. She lets me know that the menus are still on order and that, sadly, a new waitress will be serving us. I thought you were legally blind, Roger says as the waitress departs. I am, but why shouldn't I learn Braille? It's good in case I get an infection or something and all my vision goes away. I mean, technology can only do so much. Braille fills in the gaps while letting me do something epic in the process. Really? Like what? Saving battery life, duh. My heart somersaults as he laughs, actually laughs. Hearing his genuine chuckle makes me grin. My stomach gives a nervous twinge, though. Still, his laughter slowly eases the knots in my stomach. Thank you for meeting with me tonight, he says. And instantly I feel curious and shocked. Wait, why are you thanking me? I mean, given your past emails and texts to me, you're so cool and kind. I can't imagine you'd have trouble getting dates. I, for one, really liked your mini-novels about your knitting hobby, and I loved your book suggestions. Well, most people don't like who I am, as a person, on the inside and outside, knitting aside. Christ, Roger. Why don't these bigots and stupid people just go away on some island of their own or something? Well, that doesn't shock me. I mean, it's disgusting. But people really think that Black lives don't matter. I know. That's one thing I really liked about your profile descriptions. You seemed really open-minded, he says with a broad smile in his voice. I'm so glad he smiles easily. That will take the edge off tonight, I hope. So, Travis, can I ask you a personal question? I nod, and he takes a deep breath. You know, I saw your online profile, and I read it thoroughly. I really liked what you had to say, really. It told me a lot about you, even though I could also read a lot of pain in your words. And that paragraph about you wanting a superhero really grabbed my attention. For some reason, I'm eager to tell him why I flooded a dating profile with what probably came off as a cry for help or a desperate need for validation, maybe both. Maybe I'm feeling extra comfortable around him because of our previous messages and emails. For a moment, I think back on my first date with Sean. I was comfortable then, too. I wonder whether this will turn out to be another heartbreaking mistake. You're a good reader. But, yeah, it's true, Roger. All I want after my last relationship is a superhero. My version of a superhero, anyway. Everything I wrote, that's all true. I want someone with the magical power of being a kind and decent person, who lacks any hidden agendas or alternative motives or, God, just a decent person. Well, Travis, you could also get a dog. They're great superheroes in their own way. I giggle while feeling my shoulders relax. So, the superhero bit intrigued you? What kind of superpowers do you have? Do you listen to people attentively? I ask, still giggling. He pauses long enough for me to hear dishes clattering in the distant kitchen. Hello, gentlemen, a woman says on my right, interrupting our conversation. She's on my fully blind side, so I turn to face her as she adds, Do you know what you'll be having tonight? Roger orders the steak, which sounds great to me, so I decide I'll copy Roger and order the same thing but with fries. And what will he be having this evening? She asks Roger after he's ordered, nodding in my direction. Immediately, I open my mouth to reply before Roger can answer. My voice is a little louder than intended, but I'm so annoyed I don't even bother hiding my tone. I'll have the steak too, with fries. My good eye catches the blurry blob shift, looking towards me, then back at Roger. Thank you, she says in my direction, clearly embarrassed. Turning to me, she adds, I'm really sorry about that. What do you want to drink? Cherry Coke, I sigh. Roger orders water. Do you get that kind of treatment all the time? Roger asks after she leaves. Yes, all the damn time. It happens every single time I go to a new restaurant. Seriously? I'm sorry, Travis. Anyway, Mr. Mysterious, why are you single? Because, you seem really different. You're caring and funny, and you definitely have an air of uniqueness about you, so, well, why are you single? Honestly, the fact that I am so different keeps me from having dates. Friends, too. Everything from my black skin to my superpowers. He stops himself, but I grin. Your superpowers of being a human? I know, right? It's amazing how so many people just can't be human anymore, you know? Well, Roger says, yeah, I do have those kinds of powers, yes, but I'm talking about superpowers. Like real superpowers. Oh, I reply, laughing as I go along with his bit. I continue to chuckle, but Roger isn't laughing. Yes, my superpowers. People just have no idea how to handle them. Friends and partners leave me because they feel insecure around me. His tone is dead serious, as if he's just revealed to me that he's secretly a cyber informant for the FBI. Overcome with nerves, I reach out randomly for my silverware, just so I can have a tangible object that reminds me I'm still living in the real world. I misjudge and accidentally grab his instead. Yours is over here, he says hastily, clenching a different bundle before agitatedly setting it in front of me. Upon taking the wrapped bundle, I feel something strange. Unrolling the silverware to inspect with my fingers, I notice first that all of my silverware is bent into a warped shape. Gaping, I then discover that the knife has an indentation on the blade. What the hell? Roger, these are bent. The knife is bent. It's bent. What? Oh, crap. Before I can blink, Roger yanks the bundle out of my line of sight. I'm really, really sorry. I didn't mean to do that. When I'm nervous, sometimes I lose control over my powers. I'm sorry. It was bent, I repeat, stunned. I have no idea how to respond. The happiness that flooded me minutes ago is fading away quickly, and I feel scared. I don't know why he's playing this game, but I don't like it. It seems manipulative. Do you know Sean? I blurt. Is this some weird game he's playing with me? To have some random person go on a date with me and play with my head? Is Sean the ex you mentioned in one of your emails? No, I don't know him. Are you okay? You're shaking. Even though his tone is earnestly sincere, I'm very frightened and I want to bolt out of here as fast as I can. My heart begins to pound and I feel as if I'm back in Sean's grip again, overwhelmed by fear and uncertainty. I want to cry. I feel trapped just like I did with Sean, and Sean isn't even here. Travis? Roger says softly, leaning forward, his voice firm but worried. Travis, I'm not gonna use my powers to hurt you. That was an accident. I'm leaving. I want to leave, I snap. Standing up so fast I stumble and drop my cane. I bend over to grab my cane, but Roger is already crouched next to me, holding the cane in his hand. He's so close to me, but I didn't see or hear him move. I blink and suddenly he's back in his seat again without a trace of movement in the air. No lingering draft or body scent either. It's as if he moved at the speed of light. I listen for gasps from other diners, for cameras clicking or sounds of incredulity piercing the night. I imagine the FBI storming the restaurant and abducting Roger before our meal is over. There's no way I'm staying here, so I unfold my cane. Stay away from me, freak. Don't follow me, I snap, as I spring up before hurrying towards the exit. A few feet from the doors, though, I look back. Roger, now a blurry blob, is hunched over the table. I can see just enough of his outline to know that he has his head in his hands. He doesn't move. He just sits there, and it makes my stomach clench and my breath catch in my throat. My heart rams my chest as I await the blurry form to lunge after me. I turn and walk towards the exit, but halt to look over my shoulder, shocked he's just sitting there. The longer I look at Roger's dejected form, the more my face falls. I can't leave him beaten down like this, I think to myself. I judged him too quickly. After all, he hasn't hurt me on this date yet. Pity slowly overtakes me as I begin to step towards the hunched-over blur. Taking a deep breath, my stomach lurches as I slowly walk towards Roger with a thumping heart. His hunched form becomes clearer with every step. When he sees me slowly sit down, he gives me a small, tentative smile. Are you gonna stay?" he asks hopefully. "I'm really sorry about before. I don't want to make you scared or frightened." "I'm staying," I say with an uncertain sigh. Folding up my cane, I realize that I have my order before me, and that Roger has given me his non-bent silverware to eat with. My hand shakes as I gently grab each silverware, slightly squeezing the intact handles as if they're alive. The waitress shows up to give Roger his order, and I jump so badly my cane almost flies out of my lap. With my thoughts racing and my emotions spiraling to the backdrop of Roger asking for some silverware, I try to calm down and eat my steak. A part of me wishes that I could just leave and go back home. I've stupidly agreed to meet a man who can bend knives and may try and seriously hurt me. As I take a bite of my steak, I realize it's gone cold. "Roger?" I ask, my heart pounding. The thought of needing this man absolutely terrifies me, but I take a deep, shaking breath. "Can you call the waitress over here? My steak is cold." "Let me fix it," he says quickly, setting his plate aside. Before I can say anything, he puts his hands on the side of the plate and stares at it intently for a minute. I can feel the plate begin to get warm, and fresh steam hits my face with a strong waft of roasting meat. When he lets go of the plate, I can't stop gaping. "Heat vision," he offers. I nod, marveling at how much warmer the steak is as I cut a piece and begin to chew on it slowly. After a few minutes, I sit up and try to look Roger in the eye. I have no idea if I'm succeeding or not, but I try anyway. "Okay, this is real. I mean, you bent silverware, but, do your powers affect external things or internal things? Like people?" I ask. I feel like a man who's asking questions about Fluffy the three-headed dog as if he's sitting right next to me. "Mostly external. I can't read minds or manipulate moods or anything." "But you have superhuman strength. The handshake, out front." "Yes, correct. By the way, I hid the bent utensils." "And..." I pause, gulp, and try again. My hand shakes again as I hold my fork. I set it down on my plate so I don't drop it. "And you really can fly." "Like the wind," he chuckles tentatively. Holy crap. But Roger, why me? I try to reach for my drink, but realize my palm is sweaty and quickly wipe it on my pants under the table. "I thought you'd be okay with it. I know you were asking for a metaphorical superhero, but I thought you'd give me a genuine chance without abandoning me." "I've actually just gotten out of a very abusive relationship, and..." I stop. I wasn't supposed to just volunteer that information, but Roger lets me finish. "This is just a little too much to take in all at once." "I'm very sorry," Roger says, his voice deflated. "I'll leave. I've caused you enough turmoil. I'm really sorry." He sighs and stands. He starts to call the waitress over, but I pull him back down. "Were you really going to leave me here?" "You said..." "I said all at once. I didn't say at all." When he registers my meaning, a grin spreads across his face. He settles back into his seat and resumes eating his food. "So," I say, slowly, looking up from my plate after setting my fork down with a steady hand. "Are you a vigilante, like Batman or something?" "No, I've considered it a few times, though." "So what about you? I mean, your life. Why are you on a dating site after just leaving a relationship? I'm picking myself up. I was in an abusive relationship, like I said. It's hard saying that out loud. It makes it tangible, you know? It makes me so worried that I'm forever damaged and can never be healed. I feel like I'm permanently broken. But Travis, you're not broken, you're healing. Healing takes time. I'm here if you ever need a hug or a friend to connect with or vent or, well, just go through the healing process. A grin lights up my face. I'm gonna so cry on your shoulder, I giggle, and he laughs. You can cry on me if you need to, definitely. Hey, this is totally random, but have you considered getting a cape? I told you, I'm not a vigilante. I can't even keep friends, let alone fight crime. Well, I say, smiling, I still gotta get used to you. But you have a friend in me. Hey, Roger says, shocked. What? I yelp, whipping around, half expecting to see FBI agents storming the restaurant. Travis, we're the only people in here. Wow. Well, you know what the comic books say. Time flies when you're with a superhero. He laughs heartily along with me before standing up, offering his arm. Think we should get going? It's pretty late. Yeah, I say, taking his elbow instead. Let's pay. After paying for our meals, I turn to Roger as we head toward the exit. So, Superman, I grin, my voice giddy. Yes, cutie. Could we fly somewhere? The question is so sudden that I marvel at how easily it comes out. I've never flown with another person before, he says, a bit worried. That's okay. It will give us something to work on, you know? Trust-wise. I gently squeeze his arm and move closer to him, crooking my arm around his and grab his warm hand. When he reciprocates, I beam and embolden my stride as we exit. After leaving the restaurant, I lead him down a nearby alleyway where we hold hands, poised for what happens next. He informs me that flying in open air is definitely not like flying in an airplane. He tells me to keep my mouth shut and my eyes closed, just in case I don't get used to it right away. I nod in understanding, and he stands behind me and wraps his arms around me, his grip sturdy across my chest. Where do you want to go? He asks from behind me. Even though he sounds nervous, he also sounds extremely happy. I grin at the relaxed tone of his voice. Let's go to a nearby rooftop. After all, we still have a Star Wars debate to finish. And there we can dance. It occurs to me that dancing with him will be very interesting and unique. Definitely like no other dance, that's for sure. You got it, boss, he says into my ear. As he crouches a little and tightens his hold on me, I feel safe, like maybe it's okay to trust someone again. Just like that, we take off into the night for a rooftop that I'm sure will have us dancing all night.
So, Robert, what does it feel like to fly?
Well, well, I, well, I have no first-hand experience, but I got to tell you, like, I did so much research on superheroes and exactly what would go into if a human body were literally flying across the so you you should see my search history. So
Oh my gosh, I can only imagine. I don't know. I think that's kind of cool to contemplate what it might feel like to fly. I think I would be scared out of my wits.
Me, I would imagine that you would get a lot of mosquitoes and things just flying in your face. So
That's
but
probably a good point.
Yeah.
Protein. Good source of protein.
Right.
I want to let folks in the Zoom room know that if you have questions for Robert, if you want to share comments about what you listened to tonight, we'll have a little short time to visit with Robert before he jets off, because of course he's in the future, and some of you are also in the future. But otherwise, Robert and I will just keep chatting until somebody wants to say hello or whatever.
Cool.
Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. It just depends on the evening, Robert. So
Cool beans. Yeah.
when you consider your writing process, I mean, you already shared that you do some research, but what is the process like for you? Where do you start?
So that's actually a very good question. So there are people that can plot everything from beginning to end, and they plot each and every scene.
Mhm.
I cannot do that. I write by the seat of my pants,
Mhm.
based on elaborate ideas that I have in my head. So I could be thinking about a scenario for days and days and days. But then I could just sit down and then write a paragraph, which leads into 2 and 3. Um, for the novels I do, I write in a sort of hybrid method. So I write all the poignant or impactful scenes first. Then I go back and I connect all the dots to those impactful or poignant scenes. But mostly for short stories, I have an idea. I toss it around in my head for like a month or so. Uh, then I actually sit down and just start out with one paragraph and then see where it takes me from there. So
And
yeah.
in that month that you're tossing it around in your head, is that when you're doing the research as well? Or do you,
Yes.
because I
Right.
tend to do this
Yes.
thing where I would start writing and then I'll go,
Mhm.
ooh, that's interesting. I'll stop and then I'll go do some research.
Yep.
It's not the right way to do
Yep.
things, but
Yep.
writing never
That's
gets finished.
that's exactly. I well now you know why my agent is like, you need to set a timer for
Uh-huh.
when you actually write, and you can't stop until the timer goes off. So
That's some good advice. I like that.
yeah.
Um, we've got a hand from Louise, and then we've got a
Mhm.
hand from Ishtar. So let's go to Louise first.
Okay.
Okay, hi. Wow. Writing is something not everybody can do, and I'll tell you, your stories just the stories bring out expression, and you can feel the feelings in them. And it's all three of them were really fantastic, but I love the middle one because
Yes.
it it's reality of this world, and that's what you were doing. You're writing reality of some of them, and that is important. That especially that one. It's the reality is, you know, we don't know what we're in, and
Yep.
sometimes, he didn't realize what he was in until it was shown to him.
Right.
And
Yep.
it's the way you write it. You've got a really beautiful way of writing. I can't wait to read your first book.
Oh, thank you. Yes, it's very interesting, but lots of people have said, well, I mean, you you have a lot of stories in you, so why not just write memoirs and stuff? I um I like writing fiction more than just a straight memoir, because when I write memoirs, I feel incredibly intimidated in a way where I don't get when I write fiction that's closely based on autobi- autobiographical stuff. It's very hard to explain, but I just feel freer when I write fiction as opposed to non-fiction. So
But
hopefully
it makes sense,
sense.
yes. But
Yeah.
part of it, it must have been something you've seen or read or you've been involved in to give you that feeling to write, because the
Yes.
feelings were there, and so
Yes.
there's got to be something you've gone through to get you to where you are to write that way,
Yes.
and it's a talent. It's not just, it's a gift. It's a gift to sit, and I suspect you could write a whole book of short stories, and you would be, it would just, from story to story, and it would just be, the same as what you did tonight. I mean, sharing 3 different stories, but there's a link in the fact your feelings are there. You can feel the writer in you. You can feel, that, well, you're in that place when you're writing it. And I can't explain it, but I know what I mean. And it's like you are those characters when you write them.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yes. It's very interesting that you say that, because I was told numerous amounts of times that when you're writing fiction, you should never do an author self i- insert. But in my case, I have a very unique experience that I can almost guarantee you that very few people have experienced. So why shouldn't I put a little bit of myself into the fiction characters? So yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not just that, it's the fact that you can take and um, expand on those fiction, on the real to the fiction, to
Yep.
make the story really come out. That's
Yep.
a true writer.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so
You're
That's great.
welcome.
Okay, Ishtar, you're up, my friend.
Hi. Can you hear
Wow.
me?
We gotcha.
Yes.
It's my thrift store microphone. That was wow. I'm in a combination of I really loved the combination of queer people and speculative fiction elements in there. And I and then the authenticity, the character, the main character, well, and Roger, we're saying things that people might not often actually say in this culture as it is right now. So I felt like it was an alternative. It's like you could communicate like this. What would happen if you communicated like this? Here are some models of people communicating from their heart. And I love that. I'm actually still kind of shaken up by the scary narcissist in the second story, and the feeling of, oh no, well, the superhero, if he's another rescuer, that can be a bad thing, even though I also used to really want to be rescued a lot. And
yeah. It's very interesting, but so that is actually the most criticism I've gotten from a lot of people, is like, well, why would you put in a rescuer? And it was
I'm not criticizing it actually, but keep going. Yeah.
No. I mean, so other people have viscerally criticized it, and they're like, why would you put? But for me, I actually wanted a rescuer like
Yeah.
Roger to come in.
Totally.
But how do you say that to critics? And how do you make it so that way, so that it doesn't diminish uh, other people's experiences that are going through the same thing that
Mm.
might not trust so e- easily. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
But
So-
I find it like I really find it interesting that you did have the rescuer and like this could be an awesome person, right? And
Mhm.
like I was writing something one time and someone said, I think I wrote a line about rescue and they were like, and I was going to take it out and they're like, well, why can't you want that? Why can't you have that in there? And I was like, yeah, why can't
Right,
I? So, um,
right.
and you know, I feel like I'm sure you probably already remind yourself of this. I don't know. I don't know if I don't think you can write to please everybody, and not everybody will understand what you
Mhm.
write. And like when it's has these elements, powerful elements, you know, like that relationship and then well, the lovely Roger coming in and, you know, meeting him at the cafe.
Yep.
Like and like for those some of us have been really um hurt, then we can have our various feelings about, oh, what might that mean? But I
Right.
also know like possibly future me and also younger me would have been like unequivocally, uncomplicatedly just thrilled. And like, so
Right.
to be able to um, be given an opportunities to remember and revisit that is great, right?
Hmm.
I think it, like I found it to be.
Oh
Um,
yes.
so it just like those stories really brought up a lot for me. And I loved that they were like LGBTQ
Hmm.
stories. That made me feel like a lot more
Yay.
relating to them a lot more than I feel
Thank
like
you.
I might have otherwise.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you. Yeah, I am. It's very interesting, but like there were like large parts of Roger the Rescuer's dialogue that I really wished that someone would have told me when I was going
Yeah, me
through it.
too.
Like at the very end, where he's like, you you deserve a person that that makes you who you deserve to be. And so
Mhm.
yeah, so so I pulled that straight from like my heart, and I'm like, I wanted someone to tell me this, so let
Mm.
me write
Yeah.
it all down. So
To me,
yeah,
those stories, like the way that like they felt for me was they really felt really very authentic and very heart, very from your heart. And um I love that about them.
thank you. I thank you so much. I mean, there'll be many more where that came from. So
Yay.
yeah.
Thanks, Ishtar.
Yeah,
Um,
thanks.
I think maybe before we let Robert go, we should let him tell us about some ways in which we can connect with his other writing, so that fans in this room can find some other things that you've written. How do we do that, Robert?
Oh, sure. So the best way is to go to my website, which is Robert Kingett, KINGETT.com. Um, I um, I I do a lot of blogging and not so much on social media these days because I find it to be quite toxic actually, but I do a lot of blogging, so the best way to keep up with everything I do is to go to my website again, which is Robert Kingett, KINGETT.com.
That's awesome. And folks can find your work and purchase your work and support
Yep,
you as an artist.
yep, yep,
I'm really
exactly.
excited about that. Really excited about that.
Me too.
And you
And
just came back from some kind of tour to promote.
I actually let me back up. So um my dating novella, uh, which is called Pass the Salt, it just went up for pre-order today. So that means the virtual book tour is going to happen next week and into April. But Pass the Salt is a collection of humorous but poignant personal essays about the numerous amounts of dates that I've had
Mm.
as a totally blind individual. Um, there is one where I go to a guy's house to get a night of self-care. So that means like caressing and hand holding and massages, but no sexual activity. Um, there's one where I went on a date with a guy, and he wanted to film me for his documentary because he's never seen a blind person before. So
Wow.
yeah, yeah. That so Pass the Salt. If anybody here knows David Sedaris, it's kind of written in that kind of humorous style. So, but it's also very touching and very poignant.
Mm. Here's a question for you. In the world of dating these days, which is mostly online and apps and all that kind of thing,
Mhm.
do you disclose in advance? It's
Yes,
a
I
big
do.
question. Disclose or not to disclose, right?
Yeah, yes, I do because
You do.
I tried it the other way, and um it's more exhausting
Hmm.
trying to keep up the trying to keep it hidden.
Yeah.
Um, it's 20 times more work for
That is fair.
me.
Yeah.
Yes. And plus, in the gay dating world, everybody wants to see a picture.
Hmm.
So whenever they send me a picture and then I don't reply with how great their ads are looking, they're like, "What's going on here?" So Yeah, yes. So, so it's so just to cut all that out, I am very, very upfront about, yes, I have multiple disabilities, and this is what you're going to get. You're probably going to end up in a book at some point, so try to be nice. So, yeah. But
Oh, I love it. That's the only reason to swipe. It's like I'm just doing it for the writing.
right. Yes.
Doing it for the book deal and the TV rights and the movie rights. Yeah, yeah. I
Oh,
love it.
yeah. Yeah. But you would not believe how so many people are thrilled to hear that. They're like, "Oh my God, I get to read a book." I'm like, "No, honey, it's not quite like that." But okay. So, yeah.
Give the people what they want, Robert.
Right.
I love it.
Yeah.
This has been a really fun night, and I so appreciate you sharing your beautiful work with us. I hope this isn't the last time you're in the space sharing stuff with us. So, it's tomorrow for you, I think. We're just over the midnight mark. Yeah, we're right on the midnight
Yep.
mark for you.
Yep.
Um,
It's tomorrow
it's
for me.
tomorrow. It's
So,
happy tomorrow for you.
yep.
So I just want to thank you so much for joining us in the VocalEye Almost live space.
Well, thank you for having me.
It's been a pleasure.
VocalEye, vocaleye.ca. Special thanks to our funders, the Canada Council for the Arts, the British Columbia Arts Council, the Province of British Columbia, and the City of Vancouver.